Beware of practicing your piety before others in order to be seen by them, but then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Whenever you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, so that they may be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But whenever you pray, go into your room and shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. And whenever you fast, do not look dismal like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces so as to show others that they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head, wash your face, so that your fasting may be seen not by others, but by your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Do not store up yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust doth consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Walking my dog every day as I do, I am getting to know a lot of other dog walkers. If I'm absolutely truthful, I'm getting to know a lot of other dogs. I remember the dog's name better than I do the walkers' names. I meet a lady fairly regularly who is determined to convert me. She is absolutely convinced that all religions are the work of the powerful and the privileged, and they are absolutely designed to keep everybody else under. And she has collected the most amazing number of conspiracy theories. And she treats me to these conspiracy theories very often. And I am really a little bit nervous that now we've entered into the season of Lent, she will be treating me to a new set of conspiracy theories, which are all about penitence and penance. And I can even imagine some of them as I stand before you today. I am now becoming rather like a professional soldier who is very good at hiding himself in the bushes. However, one of the things that I have discovered is that nearly always I feel almost exactly the opposite of what I'm being told in these conspiracy theories. And that would be true of things like penitence and penance. Penitence and penance can easily be presented as though they are something negative, something that, you're only going to do if you're really, well, frankly, not very well up there. But that doesn't feel like that to me. It feels really almost exactly the opposite. And I've been trying to think, how can I demonstrate that? And while I was struggling with this, hiding in the bushes, while I was struggling with this, a story came back into my head from long, long ago when my children were little, when my son was a toddler. Now, there's a kind of a fellowship that grows up when your children are little, isn't there? With all the other people who've got little children, you suddenly find you're all going through the same stresses and strains together. And this was a story about a mum who took her toddler into a department store, a family-owned department store, when they had such things. and her toddler was in a fractious mood. Now, probably the toddler would have been perfectly well behaved with everybody else, but you know what it's like. They're not going to be well behaved with you, are they? And Mum was having a lot of problems with her toddler. And they got to a sort of stand where there was a display of glass, expensive cut glass. And so she did what we'd all have done. She grabbed hold of the toddler's arm in order that the toddler didn't do any damage. Now, let me take you back to when you had toddlers. Did you ever succeed in managing to hold on to your toddler's arm if the toddler didn't want you to? Well, that's exactly what happened. The toddler wrenched the arm free and went headlong into the glass. And the whole lot came tumbling down and smashed all round it. Mum simply collapsed in tears. Now, you can imagine what happened to the toddler. I doubt that the toddler had any concept of penitence and penance. What the toddler did have was a concept of Mum, his champion, his rock, being in a distressed state. Partly, I think the toddler wanted to comfort Mum, but partly the toddler wanted Mum to comfort himself. And there they were on the floor amidst the broken glass, with Mum in floods of tears and the toddler in floods of tears as well. The shop assistant, of course, sent for the manager, the owner of this department store. And the manager rushed down. This is a true story, by the way. Rushed down and found Mum and toddler there in front of the broken glass in floods of tears. But the manager had Dad too. And the manager was able to read the situation instantly. And so the manager, the owner, picked up Mum and the toddler and took them off to the cafe and gave them coffee and cake and comfort. I hadn't thought before that those three, coffee, cake, comfort, works well, doesn't it? Coffee, cake and comfort. And wouldn't hear of any kind of damages being raised against Mum. Now, I grab hold of that story because it feels to me as though it is such a superb illustration of the God who we worship. We all make mistakes, and some of our mistakes can do a huge amount of damage. But when we make mistakes, we're not going to find ourselves dealing with a God who turns up with a clipboard and starts adding how much you owe him. He just isn't like that. God turns up and picks you up and takes you to the equivalent of the coffee, cake, and comfort. So when we enter into the season of Lent, we are entering into a time for me of amazement that God can be like that. That God can reach out to me with all my mistakes and my foolishness and all of the things that I've done that have harmed others and harmed myself, and reaches out and pays the price himself. That's what the manager did. He wouldn't hear of charging the poor mum. He said, I'll take the consequences. I'll take the loss. I can bear it. And isn't that exactly what God does? He reaches out and pays the price. In the end, on this journey, we're going to reach a day when God pays the ultimate price. God dies for our sins. He pays the price so that we can live the new life of what we were designed to be, of what we were meant to be, of what he created us to be. We are his children. And we can be wayward, and we can wrench our arms away. Whatever damage we do, he will be there to pick us up and put us right and pay the price himself. To me, this season of penitence, this season of penance, is a season of amazement at the profound love of God. And in a few moments, we're going to wear his cross with pride. We're going to bring our mistakes, our errors to him, and he reaches out to us in his love and pays the price. And as each forehead is marked with his cross, let us humbly respond with our love to his love and be transformed in his image.